Conditional expressions are expressions that produce a result based on the criteria passed. The first conditional expression we're going to go over is the if expression. And just as the name sounds like, if a certain criteria is passed, then we will run a certain amount of code based on what you specify within that block. So instead of talking about it, let's go over an example so you guys can get a better understanding of it. So a good example that I wanted to use, because I want to make something fun, is a coin toss. So you guys know in the beginning of a game, like an NFL game, they do a coin toss to see who gets the ball first, or who chooses to get the ball first. And you choose between heads or tails. So what I wanted to do was make an interactive game where the user can input a choice between head or tails, and based on the choice, if I run a random number between 0 and 1, if their choice matches up with whatever was generated, then you win. If not, then you lose. So how I'm doing that is, first I'm creating a variable called coin toss, which is holding heads or tails inside of an array. We're going to talk more about arrays, but it's just contiguous memory which holds data, so I can retrieve this value based on the index or the order that it's in. So I can retrieve head by using the number 0, and I can retrieve tails by using the number 1. I print out a prompt which let the user know to choose with either heads or tails. I take in some input, which we're always talking about printing out using println, print, and all that, but you can actually take an input in Kotlin using read line function. So it's literally just read line and then parentheses, and this is going to be storing the value that the user chooses, which is head or tail. And I'm using string, and this question mark is used to let Kotlin know that sometimes the user doesn't make mistakes. So sometimes the user might not make a choice and it might be null, so we gotta be sure that that's okay. And that question mark let Kotlin know that it's okay to store null if the user passes in nothing. And then in this case, we're going to print out the choice that the user makes, and I want to generate a number between 0 and 1. So this is how I do that. This dot dot lets Kotlin know that we want a range of numbers between 0 and 1. So in this case, it's only 2 numbers, and I want to generate a random number between 0 and 1. So it's either going to be 0 or it's going to be 1. Based on that, I'm either going to retrieve head or tail. So now we're going to use the if expression, which is if, open parentheses, and within this parentheses, I'm going to put the criteria that I want to check for. So in this case, I want to retrieve the value from the coin toss. So I'm going to use coin toss, which is this variable that's holding head or tails. And then I'm going to use the random number that was generated to retrieve either head or tail based on whether the number that was randomly chosen is 0 or 1. So I'm going to put random number. So I use this to retrieve that. And then I use double equal, which we learned, to compare with the user side choice. Then I open up a bracket. So if this is correct, if this is true, we will run whatever is in here. So in this case, I just want to print out you were right. Congrats. That's it, something simple. Oh, I forgot the quotations because I'm printing out text. Congrats. And then the if has another expression that you can use called the else, which if it wasn't met, if this is false, this will run. If, or else, In this case, the else case would be I want to print out you lost. That's it. So even if the person puts nothing, it's still not going to equal to the choice, because you can either be heads or tails. If the person put 1, or if the person puts a number or put something random, the else case will catch that, which is perfect. It's perfect for if the user doesn't put exactly what you want, or if the person just loses. All right, so let's run this. So if we press this play button, and it's gonna take a little bit, we get the prompt, choose head or tail. In this case, I want to choose head. Press enter, and whoop, that was quick. I lost. The choice that I picked was head, and it just let me know that I lost. Let's run it again. Let me choose head again. Boom. choice is head. You are right. Congratulations. So this is a pretty cool way to see how conditional expressions can be used in your application. If you want something to check a certain criteria, this can be used to execute a certain block of code if that criteria is met. If not, then we can use else to run something else. Alright, so the cool thing about if or else expressions is the fact that we're able to return a value based on the criteria that we pass. So before, we did a little game where we checked if the person was of age to drink in the US. And before, we just printed out some prompts, whether it was true or false. But what if I want to store that value so I can use later on in my application to block out information based on if the person is of age or not? Well, now we can do that with the if or else expression because we can store that into a variable. So first, let's create a variable called age, and we're going to make that a var because the person's age can change. And we're going to make that an int, and we're going to make that equal to 20 because I want to see if the person's now of age, what will happen. So then we're going to use var and is of drinking age. Boom. And then we're going to put it as a boolean because it's either going to be true or false. And then we're going to see this expression in action. So let's do if, and then let's put the criteria. If the age is greater than or equal to 21, then we're going to put println first. So we want to print out congrats. Well, not congrats, because it's not really a congrats type of thing. Enjoy your drink. That's all it is. And then we're going to put true as what's going to be returns. Now you're still probably seeing this red and you're thinking, oh man, this guy does not know what he's doing. But in this case, it's pretty much Kotlin letting you know that yes, you have an if, but what happens if the person is not greater than or equal to the age of 21? We're going to use the else for everything else. And we're going to print out, you're not missing out. Just wait. And we are going to return false. Boom. Red swigglies are gone. So if the person is greater than or equal to 21, then we'll print this out and then we'll store true into this variable. If the person is not, then we will print this out and we will store false. Granted, we do not need these prints. I'm just doing that, just so you guys can see. But yeah. Now we can print out whether that is correct. So are you of the US drinking age? And then actually it's a question. But then I'm just gonna put on what was actually stored into is of drinking age, and we're gonna print this out. Let's see what happens. That's gonna take some time, and then boom, look, you're not missing out. Just wait, and it's actually are you of the US drinking age, and it's saying false. Now if I put 21, which is equal to, it's not greater, but it's equal to 21. Let me run this. Then boom, enjoy your drink. It is true, and we are good to go. So that's pretty useful if you want to, return a value to be stored into a variable. The if or else expression can be very useful.